This is it. The moment I've been waiting for all my life. Most of my life. A pretty good chunk of my life. My first custom loop. Don't tell Enermax I told you that. Hey guys, Hardware Hound here. So I've been dreaming of getting into the custom liquid cooling game for quite some time. And you know, time, funds, various reasons can definitely prohibit getting into that. But hey, with enough patience, perseverance, we are here. So we are going to take a look at the Enermax NEOChanger, which is a pump reservoir combo that also has RGB lighting. But before we get too far, I do want to mention Epic Gear and thank them for sponsoring my channel. Of course, I'm always super appreciative of that. They have loaded me up with some awesome peripherals, and just face it, when you spend all your days on keyboards and mice, it actually makes a difference and can help a lot. Of course, Morpha X, awesome mouse, fully modular, and practically 2 mice in 1. So check them out. I'll have links in the description below. So yeah, we have the NEOChanger, a pump reservoir combo. Enermax isn't necessarily known for custom liquid cooling parts, so let's see how well they fare in this arena. We'll go ahead and take a closer look at what this unit can do, then we'll follow that up with some testing results. Before we get into looking at the actual unit here, I gotta point out a couple of things, because man, Enermax really went overboard with accessories in the best way. Now, I don't normally go through accessories, but this one was really worth it. So first off, they've got just an assortment of brackets so that you can mount the unit in basically whatever angle you want. So they've got like a horizontal mount, they've got like a vertical mount that goes inside, and then the unit itself comes with a base that will just set in the bottom of your case if you have room. So you know, they've got plenty of bolts and nuts to hold it all in and mount it in, which is great. They've got a bunch of rubber foot pads to put on there to help with vibration noise. They've got some cable ties, or you know, you can probably even use them to tie to kind of hold the reservoir in place a little bit. They even included this little guy, which is just a nifty little tool. It's got some different nut sizes for like maybe putting in fittings and stuff, so that if you forgot and don't have a decent wrench to screw all your fittings in, well, this tool will pretty much do all of them, and even has enough flat edges to do the slots that are in fittings. So that was fantastic. But the thing that really caught my eye is this guy right here. Yep. They just gave you a loop back plug. I was thinking I was just gonna grab this power supply and just jump the pins on my own, but they gave me a loop back plug. A loop back plug. That is an awesome accessory bundle. All right, let's take a closer look at this guy. All right, you know this is serious business when I get the main rig out. Because you know, ideally, we want to use a test bench for all of our testing and then have a system that never has to move. But, you know, sometimes you can only do so much. So the first thing I really want to point out here in this closer look is, because this is something that I noticed that Enermax LEPA did with the NEOLusion CPU cooler. So you see this white ring going around the bottom? It acts as like a little bit of a diffuser, so that way those LEDs aren't quite so bright and shiny in the face, and it works really great. So that's why I've got the lights off right now. You can see clearly too, we've got this nice little RPM gauge, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit more. Now on the camera, this might look like another white ring, but that's actually just condensation from the loops. So this is actually just, you know, clear acrylic going all the way up to the top here. So that's not anything special up there. All right, so Enermax includes this little remote right here. It comes in this nice little cover that has little magnetic stands on the bottom, so it'll stick to your case. So a nice little design. This is just, well, I mean, it's basically the best option you've got if you don't have software control. And you know, I feel like at some points everybody gets a little bit tired of software control. Now, sometimes this remote's a little tricky. You just kind of have to point in different areas until you get it. That's not a big deal. So yeah, there we go. Turn it on. We've got our nice blue LED, and you can see now that that green is diffusing that light, and it just lights up the whole res really nicely. So yeah, hi dog. Yeah, so my dog is just all at once at this very moment saying, hey, I need attention. I know. Okay, now go ahead, go lay down. All right, so we've got, I wanted to show a couple of the color spectrums here. So of course, they do have the options to dim it down or brighten it back up. So, you know, that's always a good option to have. So you can choose various levels of static colors. And so like the red, the green, the blue, those all look really good. The white looks really good too. There's just a nice bright white, almost maybe just a little hint of like that's probably from other LEDs. But yeah, it looks good and bright. Pink looks good. The orange looks good if you like orange. Yellow is sad. Yellow always looks terrible. The purple is still not as purpley as it could be. And you know, I've got a great comparison right here at these Corsair purple LED fans, because these are like just a great dark purple. And that's not abnormal though to see purple being a slightly weak. So yeah, I'm going with blue because obviously on my main system here, most of my components are either blue or purple, and the blue seems to match well with my color scheme. You can go ahead and do a flash. There it goes. So you can do like a flashing effect there where it'll just flash. And then they've got the effect here called sparkle. And sparkle is actually just usually what everybody else calls a breathing effect. So I've got that on a really slow timer. If I was to hold down this up arrow, I can really speed that up by quite a bit. And so there it goes. Now it's just a much faster breathing effect. If you go to auto, it'll actually start color cycling on a breathing effect, and you can speed up or slow that down. It cycles very slowly through these colors, just gradually changes. So you might find that you like a little bit of a faster speed on that color cycle to get all the way through. So once again, this controls effects and color, but it also controls the pump speed. So it's got the presets here. So you can go like 1500 RPMs, and this thing will drop to, you know, pretty darn close to that. We go, and then it goes from 500 increments. So at 2000, but I started noticing that the actual speed kind of varies a little bit. So at 2000, we're running about 2250. 2500, which I think is like the perfect noise to cooling ratio because you can't really hear it, but it's still pumping pretty good. We're actually running closer to 2900 RPMs. 3000 is where we start kind of hearing it, and we're, you know, actually going 3600. Coming up here to the 3500 mark, and we're already over 4000 RPMs. So when you go to the 4000 mark, you're actually closer to almost 5000 RPMs. We're at like about 4800. So yeah, pretty straightforward. There is also the minus and plus 150. So if you want to increment that by just tiny little steps, you can just, you may not be able to hear it as well on your end, but that you can just hear that pump stepping down just one little step at a time. So yeah, really thorough controls on this remote. The lighting looks excellent. I also like this little display for the RPMs. I think this is a fantastic job. Let's go ahead and go over to the testing results now. Okay guys, so we're gonna get into some testing results here in a second, but first I wanted to talk a little bit about how I was doing my comparisons, because, you know, as much as possible, I always want to have a good comparison point. And even though I don't have an actual custom loop to just swap out individual parts, I did have the SwiftTech H320 X2 unit. And this is very, very close to a custom loop. It has a much stronger pump. Okay, so the SwiftTech unit has about 660 liters per hour flow rate. When you compare that to like your average CLC may get up to like 150 liters per hour on their flow rate. So this pump's gonna be a lot stronger. We actually have a full reservoir, even though it may not be as high of a capacity as, say, an actual dedicated reservoir. It's still way more capacity than a CLC. SwiftTech includes a copper brass radiator. Now, I couldn't really repurpose this rad because I wouldn't have had a good time trying to flow through this pump and everything. So I picked up a copper brass radiator from XSPC that, you know, has about the same thickness and looks to have about the same fin count, although I was having a little trouble finding official fin counts. So, you know, take that with a little bit. Just take that and be aware that that can change some results a little bit, but probably won't affect us much. I'm also reusing SwiftTech's, I believe it's the Apogee 2 block, which is great because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to duplicate this unit as much as I can so that the biggest difference we have between this unit and our Enermax unit is the res and the pump, of course. So yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and set this guy off to the side and let's go ahead and get into these testing results. So the Enermax NEOChanger, it has multiple settings. I did two things. There's not like really a silent or a performance profile. So what I did is I tested it at max speed just to see what is it completely 100% capable of with my setup. And then I toned down the RPMs to where I felt really comfortable, where I could really just not hear it or barely hear it enough to where it doesn't even bother me, doesn't even register. The setting of 2500 RPMs, which actually clocks in at about 2900, was the setting I chose for that. And that's what I'm going to call my silent profile in this review. So the Enermax NEOChanger has a much higher flow rate, but I don't expect that to dramatically change temperatures, and it didn't. So at the 2900 RPM kind of silent setting I chose, I was able to pull a stress test of 69 degrees on my Ryzen 7. That I have managed to successfully overclock to 4 gigahertz stable 24/7. So 69 degrees average on my OCCT run was not bad at all. My SwiftTech unit, 70 degrees. And honestly, that's like perfect. That's kind of what I would expect. When you're doing massive 360 millimeter radiators and the only thing you're cooling is a CPU, you're going to start hitting this very huge level of diminishing returns for just straight heat transfer. And so it's phase change that you're going to need to really start pushing levels down. So this kind of setup is designed to have more pieces in the loop than just the CPU. It's meant to have a GPU, maybe even a VRM heatsink, maybe even two GPUs. So yeah, 2900 RPMs, I jump it up to the max speed, which was showing about an average of 4,750 RPMs, and I got an average temp of 68.9. So yeah, hardly any difference. But where it got interesting is the noise levels. So when I did now the SwiftTech unit, everything runs off of a fan splitter, and that runs off of the CPU header. So I did kind of the same thing, except I can manually set the pump speed. So when I'm maxing out the speeds on the SwiftTech pump and fans and all, I got a total of 45 decibels. And so that's not too bad on the noise level. My silent was 42 for the Enermax NEOChanger, which basically means that all we are hearing on that full speed is the fans. We're not really even hearing the unit. And then of course, max speed, where things are probably gonna matter a little bit more, I did get up to 48 decibels total running a stress test with the system. So yeah, 48 still, I mean, that's louder than I really feel the need to be, because why? When you can run quieter, if you don't have to run louder, then don't. But noise levels are excellent. Cooling and performance seems excellent. So, I mean, this is looking like an extremely solid unit. Let's go ahead, wrap up this review, take a look at some pricing, and then we'll give it an award. So far, Enermax is definitely proving to us that they can play in the arena of custom liquid cooling. I mean, when we do the closer look, this unit just looks excellent. And I think one of the things I forgot to mention the closer look, because I was focused on lights and settings, is this unit, the NEOChanger, just feels like an awesome, sturdy, quality built product. So, man, it looks great. It feels like it's got some great quality. We're already winning there. we go when we look at our testing results look really good, especially compared to SwiftTech unit. Now I'm a little new to the custom cooling area. So noise levels is gonna be the one thing that I'm gonna feel like I might not be able to judge as good as I should be able to, but at least with the comparisons that I have, I'm not a bit complaining about the noise levels here. So overall, I've got to say great job on performance because it did a really good job. So if you go onto Amazon right now, Enermax has these guys available, and they've got 3 different sizes. 200 millimeter, of course, I have the 300 milliliter, and then they also have a 400 milliliter that's also the tallest unit. The first one starts at about $110, and it ranges up to just $10 increments all the way up to $130. I may not be quite as versed, but I've done my fair share of liquid cooling shopping in the past because I was trying to put parts together and stuff. And even just doing some quick searches on Amazon to compare what else is on the market there, it was not hard at all to find other units that were running $150. And when I would do the specs comparisons, yeah, some of them might have a higher capacity, but they would also have a weaker pump. And then some of them would have a really strong flow rate, but they'd only maybe be like 200 or 190 or 180 milliliters. And they were running $150, which is still just more money. And so I'm sitting here looking at all 3 of these units, and not only is the value great because you can save an extra 10, 20 bucks if you want to, but if you just want to have capacity, grab the 400 milliliter because it's just not going to cost you that much more. That is a pretty fantastic ordeal. I mean, the pricing is excellent. The only problem, remember, on my last review from Enermax and LEPA was that their Neo Illusion CPU cooler was a bit pricey. But this time, not even. Super competitive and basically on the verge of, if I dare say so, a steal. I mean, I am really, really happy with the pricing. So it's no brainer. The Enermax NEOChanger series is gonna get a Pure Overclock Editor's Choice Award. I have an awesome blue light up Reservoir custom cooling loop in my computer, and now I just need to find a way to add GPU blocks to it. I'll catch you later.